I think the mystery of why was this man and his daughter living in a public park and undetected, and how did they do that, and what were they looking for by being in this non-conforming existence, you know? And then, of course, this mystery kind of it compounds when you realize that they're going to be found, they're going to be evicted, you know, pushed out of the park, and then what happens? Like, can you easily just go back to conforming and to social pressures of, or, you know, will he find something else that he's looking for? Any portrait of non-conforming people is extremely interesting, and the book then presented itself. You know, the author had thought a lot about what it took to live the way they did, but also, you know, sort of what becomes of non-conforming people. How much can society tolerate? Usually we want to bring them back and make them normal again, right? And I was also wondering what is the effect of the environment? You know, what happens if you feel that you're at peace and you can think your own thoughts in this forest? You know, what is the effect of where we live on a person's ability to cope? Because we know the effect, a little bit the effect of, you know, a cement tower block, you know, places where we're expected to live with no trees. But I was curious to see what would happen when you live extremely close to the trees. In this example, because this was from a story from the newspaper, so the novelist did base the book on a very short announcement in the newspaper that just said, curiously, this father and daughter had been living in the park, and the authorities are surprised that they'd been there. They didn't know they were there. And Portland is a very liberal city, and Portland is unusual. There's a lot of services for homeless people, but it is unusual. And in fact, some people in Portland are very frustrated. They say, oh, we give so many services that homeless people want to come here, you know. We give delicious food, you know. We give blankets, we give, you know. So some people in Portland get anxious that they're actually sort of calling all the homeless people to come to their city, you know. But in this case, the social services did actually go out of their way. It was an exceptional case. They did go out of their way to try to find a location that they thought the family would be happy. Still, in this, the social workers did have, you know, they wanted to be helpful, but at the same time, you know, philosophically, you can't help but notice that they assume that they want what's normal. That, you know, we always assume that other people want what we have, that what we have is good. You know, we're normal, and of course everyone would like that. You know, so when they put him in this specific kind of house, they're like, anybody would love this house. It turns out he reacts poorly to 4 walls. Psychiatrically, he's not comfortable within 4 walls. And, you know, with the 4 walls come dozens, you know, many kinds of papers to sign. Electric bill, gas bill, right? You know, having to just sign up so many papers from the state, right? So the minute you're in one of these boxes, really the state is on your back, you know? When I do the research for, you know, a film, and this film fits very solidly in the idea of a social realist film, I love for reality to put its mark on the film. You know, in the surrounding area where we were filming, which is the location where the family was living, I'm interested in what's really happening in the church, for example. What's really happening with the teenagers. You know, this club, this agricultural club. Those are the real, you know, those are the real kids. They're real rabbits. Yeah, and I do like to ask, you know, like I would take my notepad, like yours, and I would be asking, you know, oh, you know, what are they doing there? Oh, well, they're learning how to take care of rabbits. Oh, so then I would maybe ask, you know, if they would be in the film. The beekeeper, the person taking care of the bees. You know, I asked, oh, can you recommend a beekeeper who is willing to talk a little bit about the bees? And she was very brave. You know, she was someone who felt very passionately about bees. And so it turned out that she could do that in front of a camera. You know, she wasn't, you know, some people get very anxious in front of the camera. If they don't have training. And like, especially with this army medic who helps him when his leg is hurt. You know, it's very hard for me to cast people who are not real soldiers, because there is that something that's hard to explain. Some experiences, you know, show up on someone's face. They're how they, right, it's how they speak. And so this was something he knew how to do. You know, I wasn't asking him to play a banker. You know, I'm not when I use people who have real expertise, exactly, they really are playing, they're presenting a version of themselves. So, you know, that's one of the rules you have to play by. You know, it's very hard, but some you know, as we know, some social realists find someone who's never acted. You know, think about the days of Bresson, I mean, the work of Bresson, or, you know, or sometimes Dardennes, or, you know, like, sometimes they find someone who's never acted and they ask them to actually do the whole film, you know. So in my situation, it's much more that they're doing very specific things, but they're information, and it's like they're fact-checking the film. So for this film, there was a lot of like physical things to do, and this was a great way for them to bond as people who were going to take a journey together. So before the film started, there was a really rich time of rehearsal with a real survival skills teacher. And so by doing these things together, you know, before we started to film, watching each other learn the knives, make the fire, walk in the woods, try to build a structure. These things really help them start to talk to each other. Really, I mean, like really communicate, because they needed to. And then we also got the wonderful opportunity to shoot in order, to shoot the scenes in order. And so they can enjoy the woods together. And then things get a little harder, and they get harder. And then they get lost, and there's a kind of a very tense period. Then there's this period where they're sort of pulling apart. So they got to experience all that in order, so it could really build inside them. Yeah, it was released at the beginning of the summer, in June. And I think, you know, it was a very specific, sadly, it was a good time for the film, you know, because people were interested to see just very simple, basic decency, you know, because of what we're going through politically. It felt almost novel or fresh to see people be okay, you know, with each other. Like, you know, I think right now we're at a period where it's like such a low, we expect the worst. So I think there was something about the people they met being okay. They were trying to survive without participating in debt and you know, sort of all the troubles of urban life, you know. I mean, it's a little bit of a fantasy, but the fact is, you know, it's sort of like a vacation from politics, you know. And another thing, I think some people also got a vacation from firearms, from guns. You know, some people are asking, oh, can we still tell a story? Can we still be interested in a story that doesn't use a gun to solve the problem? Yeah. And then the last thing is, I think, like here, you know, people are interested and they're very responsive when they see a new person on the screen, right? So Tom, you know, had a very fresh sort of presence to give. You know, she really worked very hard in the film, and people responded to her energy. They saw that she was earnest, you know, that she wanted to put herself into it.